Content warnings for this video game are listed in the podcast description.
What time do you want to do?
We could do top of the hour. Or top of the minute.
Top of the morning.
It's say in north of Germany they say moin. And I remember I was with somebody from Hamburg, and he said we were in like middle Germany, like Niedersachsen, I think, and he said moin to someone, and the person was like, "Isn't it too late to say moin?" And after we went away from him, he was like, "It's never too late to say moin. You can always say moin." It's like these Midwesterners don't know anything.
That reminds me, I have a friend who went to Turkey on like a what do you call it, like a school trip or whatever.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And they were like examining like some like pottery or something. And it was like early in the morning, and they were with their professor, and they just working quietly, and they just hear their professor going, "Yeah, that's that shit I like."
That's incredible.
It's so good.
Oh, wow. Amazing. Wow. Well, welcome to the Safe Room, a survival horror game podcast. I'm Grace, and with me is my co-host, Rose.
Hello.
Hi.
Murder.
Murder. We played 2 video games this month. Her Story and Immortality.
Yeah.
These are both FMV narrative, non-linear narrative games, directed and at least co-written by one Sam Barlow.
Her Story definitely written by Sam Barlow.
Oh yeah.
Immortality has Sam Barlow and 3 other credited writers on it.
Yeah, well, I was actually reading about it.
Thank God.
That he wrote all of Ambrosio, which is the first film, and then did like story outlines for Minsky and Two of Everything, and then like the other credited writers are like the people who actually wrote the screenplay for those. Which I think is actually cool because it does give them kind of a different. It does not feel all like one voice, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I don't know how much of like. Oh, go ahead, keep going. Sorry.
I was gonna ask how do you want it to do this discussion?
I feel like we should start with Her Story and just kind of because it's not long. I don't know that I have a ton to say about it. And then I think we can kind of, we'll bring it in because they're related. They're similar structurally, and not just in like, not just in like literal mechanics, but in like how the kinds of feelings they're trying to make you feel and how that's structured, And
I think people will be unsurprised that I think Immortality is a way better game than Her Story.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get into it. I do not care for either of these.
I like Immortality, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah. But Immortality is leaps and bounds better than Her Story. It is. We'll get into it. I don't want to spill too much tea right now.
Sure. Well, let's talk about Her Story. You what happened? The game Her Story. Not a lot happens in the game. You're on
Mm-hmm.
you're on this like old police computer,
Yep.
and you're you're searching through videos, and the search, it like takes the words that are mentioned in the video, and you see the first 5 results of each search term,
Yes.
and you're trying to solve the mystery. And the mystery is that there's this woman named Hannah who, and I'll just spoil the story. She killed her husband, and also she has an identical twin that they kind of coexist with, um, and they kind of live the same life as it's presenting as the same person when they are twins. It's Hannah and Eve. One of them was born and then grew up with their like nanny or whatever. Um, and they didn't know about each other until late in like childhood, I guess. And then they acted as a single person, and then they've like dated people and stuff, and then one day they meet Simon, and one of the twins kind of develops this relationship with Simon, and then one day Simon has an affair with the other twin, and then Simon is killed by one of the twins, and then they try to cover it up, and that's the story of her story.
Yeah. Well, it's also sort of
and then it is revealed that as you're watching important videos, you get like flashes of your player character on the screen, and it's revealed that you're like the child of Simon and one of the twins.
Yes, and Eve, who's the like attic dwelling twin. It's also kind of, I mean, I guess it depends, because like the Wikipedia thing is like maybe they're the same person and they're just different personalities or something like that.
I don't prescribe to that reading.
Yeah. But I think it's also implied that like both of them visit the police station, and like different interviews are with different ones, right?
Yes.
Because there's stuff like one of them likes black coffee and the other one likes sugar. And
yeah,
like
one
stuff.
of them has like a tattoo, and the other one doesn't.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, imagine having it's a tattoo of a snake and apple. Imagine having a name that you can guess from your tattoo.
Wait, isn't it literally a snake and an apple?
Yes!
Man, okay. So this game doesn't hold up.
Yeah. I think this about Immortality too. I think formula, or like the structure of it, is fine.
Yeah.
Like I don't mind like doing the keywords, and I don't love that it's kind of like there's just like a big confession at the end that just like outlines the whole thing. Like it, I don't know. Like I get why that's there, but it does just feel like it's just figuring out what happened. It's just a matter of getting to the last like 10-minute confession, and then there's not really like anything else, you know?
I played this game when it came out in like 2015 or whatever, and I liked it. It's one of those games where you play once and you're like, cool, that's a cool thing that I played.
Yeah.
And I don't really think of it outside of that.
Right. Yeah.
But I loaded it up the second time and I entered twins and then hit enter, and then I was in the end game.
Yeah. Well, you can also, because every video, I was finding this out on like Steam guides, but because every video is labeled with blank in the user notes, if you just type blank into the search bar, then you'll get the videos in order, and then you can just add user tags to all of them, and the blank will stop being associated with them. So you can watch the whole thing chronologically.
Interesting.
By doing that. I don't know if that's like a built-in thing that was intentional or what the deal is, but that is like something you can do.
Huh. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of, I think part of it is that I'm forgetting the actress's name in Her Story, but I don't love her performance. It kind of is like flat affect, and also I don't know that I this might be too strong, and it might just be a matter of like how execution. This got me thinking about Dolores Claiborne, which is also like, I mean, it's linear, right? But it's like a one-sided police interview. Like, you don't get the other side of it. You just get, Dolores Claiborne talking, right? And I think that works a little bit better as a literary device than it does as a, cinematic or audiovisual device. Especially, like, there's all those, like, parts in the middle, like, where, when I did unlock every bit of footage, because you get a special code that lets you open it up to 15 clips. And then you can also get like a random clip, and that can help you just like get through, stuff. And especially stuff that's like hard to find, where it's like, they give you like a little visualization of like each clip. And there's a sequence in the end towards the end where there's a lie detector test. And, so you just get her saying yes or no. And it's like, it would be literally impossible to find these clips without using these like randomizer tools, because it has no other cue except,
Interesting. I had no idea. I had no idea that you can unlock more slots.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like in the end credits, there's like a little thing that's like, hey, if you're getting stuck, maybe try putting this code in. You get an achievement for putting it in.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I did not care enough to do that.
Yeah,
when I played it the first time.
Right. Well, I did like when I got like 50% through of the footage, and I like, okay, I think I know what the like story is here, basically. Yeah. And so I'll just come back like the day before we record and like wrap it up and like actually roll credits. Just to like refresh my memory.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was what I did.
This is one of those games where you play it and you just see the game design doc behind it, which makes it lose all of its charm for me. The fact that it's the combination of, like you said, the flat affect, and also introducing weird phrases and like just weird out of left field dialogue that is that is there for the gameplay part of it.
Right.
That I don't like, and I think distracts from the overall vibe of the game. Like the part where she like talks about fairy tales and stuff like that is like so unnatural and just out of nowhere. And I'm like,
well, this is
there for the search term,
They do, they like show her all the pictures of like Grimm's fairy tale like illustrations or whatever, and it's like, this is not an actual police test. Which is like, I don't mean to like CinemaSins ding. That's not real. But just that there is this like, I think there's a weird, the construction of it is so artificial.
Yeah.
Because like if they were like gonna let her daughter like come in and watch, they just have a thing where you could like, all right, here's all the interviews.
Yeah.
Like they wouldn't have it be set up like this where you have to like do a little video game puzzle to like watch it, which is like fine, but I think it does like those little contrivances feel, I think, a little bit sharper or weirder because they, interface with all this stuff. Yeah, I also feel like this is kind of, the way, because I hadn't played this, and I like remember I remember it coming out, and I remember it getting Polygon Game of the Year 2015.
Did it get Game of the Year?
Yeah, it did.
Dude.
Witcher 3 got an honorable mention that year. Just so you know. The gamers were steaming mad.
What are people on? I think I'm understanding the Sam Barlow haters a little bit more.
Yeah. Because I think the thing is, like, this is like Flowers in the Attic level storytelling. Right? This is like, it's a little bit salacious, and I think it's definitely like playing with that a little bit, right? Like, it's not unconscious of that. But this is maybe just me wishing the game was a different thing. But also, I think a game that's just about, like, your mom murdering her shitty husband is, like, more interesting to me than a game about, like, your twin and your, like, weird psychological hiccups that are based on this, like, contrived fairy tale scenario. Right? Like, I think it would work better for me. And also, because I think I saw people talk about it as like, oh, it's like this feminist game where it's like thinking about women in the relationship with the police, interrogation. And I just think that's like, yeah, it's like there because it's what it's about, but it's not there because that's something the game's interested in thinking about. Right? If that distinction makes sense.
I guess, I mean, it's, I don't know. It only insofar as, like, and this isn't exactly what you're talking about, but, like,
right,
the game is so much about here's the sexy girl and here's the boring girl.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That I'm just
like,
it is. All right,
yeah.
Like, I don't.
I mean, I did,
don't
like,
know.
I don't. Yeah, I also don't mean to be like. I don't think this is me being prudish, but, like, my eyes did bug out of my face a little bit when she was like, oh yeah, I took her virginity with a hairbrush cutter, like, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, why are you telling the police this? What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Right. And, like, I guess it's but it's just, there's sort of like this weird volunteering of that kind of information, and, like, this, like, the game is, like, interested in virginity in, like, a straightforward way, in a way that, like, kind of wigs me out. Like, I just feel uncomfortable about it, you know? And I guess you can be like, oh, the game's, like, meaning to make you feel uncomfortable, but it just doesn't feel like, I don't know, whatever. Just didn't ring that way for me.
No, it just felt like, at the most generous reading you can do is that it's using those tropes to service to facilitate, like, the game, like the mystery solving aspect of that, you know?
Right, for sure, yeah.
But when they talk about, like, you know, it was weird to date the guys because one person would have sex with them and then the other wouldn't. I'm just like, okay, cool. I don't need to know this, but thank you.
Yeah, it's true. Sam Barlow is very interested in, like, the Madonna horror complex. As we will find out. And yeah, I just think it's, I don't know quite how to, like, articulate it, but yeah, it just felt kind of, like, shallow to me. And I also think, like, also we talked about this. We just covered Us on Found Footage. We love a good twin dark reflection story, you know. And I think also we've played
good
stuff.
Point.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about that.
I think we've played and watched stuff for this show and related shows that just, like, totally knocks this out of the water in terms of, like, dealing with similar ideas, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It is a nice experiment in game making.
Right.
And that's kind of the only angle in which I can appreciate it from. Like, I like, I like the fact that he ran all of the footage through, like, VCR stuff and then put it in the game. Like, that's cool. But Outside of that stuff, I don't know. You know,
and I like the thing of it's not. I wish there was more kind of with the frame.
Yeah.
But I do like the getting to a significant clip and then like the lights flicker and you see your face in the I like that physicality. And we're gonna come back to that with Immortality, I think. But but I like that sensation of like you are a person in the world and you're using an object in the world in this like weird way. I think that's like a cool thing.
And the I kind of like the music kind of highlighting which clips are like important, I guess. As like a storytelling device. But the actual story is like nothing. So it's also it's just hard for me. I think there's kind of Immortality. A friend of mine, I think on Backlog, I'm trying to remember Susie for sure. But I don't remember their like last name. But we're talking about how there's sort of this like arc with both of these games that's like kind of figuring out what's going on with the systems, and then like this kind of curiosity or like voyeurism that then kind of turns into compassion and understanding, right? And that's, I think, that's true. But and this is kind of true for Immortality as well, though I think to a lesser degree, it just doesn't emotionally engage me. Like I do not feel like attached to this woman or her life or her relationship with Simon, or, there's stuff that's like interesting about it, I guess. But like, it doesn't pull any of the stuff that's sort of interesting to me. I think, I just wish, this sounds like weird maybe, but like people kill people all the time. Like it's not common, but it's not uncommon. Right. And I kind of wish this was a game about someone killing someone for like normal reasons and like having to like sit with and think about it. Particularly like if it's like, I wanted my daughter to have a normal life and not be around this guy, like my husband, or, and the way that stuff gets, like this is just like factual that, these kinds of murders are like, I guess I don't know exactly how I mean this, but like, there is no leverage or like understanding or ability for someone to like escape criminal justice if they murdered someone for like a good reason, if they were being beaten or hurt. Even though that's also a crime, right? If you kill your husband for doing that, like maybe you get a self-defense ruling, but maybe not, right? And like being the aftermath of that situation, like it feels like it plugs into the stuff that this game is kind of abstractly about, which is like women in police and like how you engage with those kinds of things, in a way that I think it's just more interesting to me. And that is me just being like, I wish this game was a totally different game. But like I do, I guess, I wish it was something more interesting to me, and it's just not. Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, and the fact that you don't know what happens to Eve, like, after any of this, is kind of indicative of like where the interest of this game lies. It's more of this like puzzle box than it is about anything else.
I think it's and I think that instinct like helps Immortality because it's more mystical, right? It's more supernatural, and so it it's I don't know. I feel like this is gonna sound like. But, it's like David Lynchy in the sense that it's going for like this intentional ambiguity, right? I don't mean that in like aesthetic affect really, but just like it is about like supernatural things that have weird echoes and thematic resonances that are not like fully explained or understood, right? And so, Her Story doesn't really have that. And I think the non-literal reads of what is going on, like alternate personalities or things like that, are actually just less interesting. Like it doesn't really enrich the central text to me. Well,
the game goes out of its way, as out of its way as it can, I guess, to discredit those readings. just through the
Oh, right, because she's in Glasgow and that's like confirmed.
Yeah, like they're in different places.
Have to be, yeah.
They're in different places. The tattoo is different. Like there's physical evidence in the game that discredits all of those like readings of it.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was just reading the Wikipedia page, which is like it like offers both readings. Man, I mean, Barlow compared it to Dogma 95. Fuck off. That's crazy. I guess I don't really know what Dogma's like. Location. See, it's not it doesn't follow the rules because it's all immobile cameras. Which is fine. It doesn't have to follow the Dogma rules. It's okay. Have you, this is unrelated except for, have you seen the Key and Peele sketch about movie hecklers?
I don't think so.
Oh my God. This is like, there's like 2 Key and Peele sketches that are like key texts, I think, for thinking about art and media. And this is one of them, but it's just about like 2 guys who are heckling at it. I mean, it's Key and Peele heckling at a movie theater, but they're like doing film school critiques of the movie they're watching. It's very funny. Like Peele's like, I like that shot the first time when it was in Nosferatu. It's so good. Anyway, if anyone's out there who's in the movie theater like that, please come to a movie with me. I want to go to a movie with you. Let me know. Hook me up. Do we have anything else to talk about Her Story? I'm checking the
song sucks.
The song. You don't like the folk song?
No, and I hate that it's catchy.
The thing I'll say about the folk song is because it's split into between 2 clips, right? And it's like 4 verses is
and it's the plot of the game.
The plot of the game, yeah. And then the second half is like the bit about like her becoming the violin and like that she could only play this song, right? And I think there's something interesting about like how like she through this apparatus, through like the interactions with the police and through like the events of the game, she becomes like this instrument that can only sing like another person's song. It's also covering for someone else's murder, and that's kind of interesting, I guess. But again, there's also kind of an element, like, I don't know, I don't mean to be. There's sort of a like, wow, women do be duplicitous kind of way to think about and read this game. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think it is being the things that is criticizing more than it is the criticism.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes, very much agreed. Yeah, also it's fucking corny that both their name are palindromes. Like, come on. Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fine. But yeah, I didn't care for this. So
that's fair because it's an hour long.
That's true. That is the other thing about it, is that it is very short.
Anything that's got going for it, that is short. Immortality by nature is not as short.
Yeah, and I think that both works to its advantage and its disadvantage. Yeah.
I agree. Let's talk about Immortality.
Yeah.
This came out in 2022.
Mm-hmm. And this is also, I mean, it's just Sam Barlow worked on, I think, a like video gamey war game sequel called #WarGames.
Oh God, I fucking forgot about that. Oh my God. What a nightmare.
And then did Telling Lies, which we will not play for the show just because it's not a horror game as far as I understand. Right.
Yeah. It doesn't look very good. But
yeah. And then this is the first one with Half Mermaid Productions.
Though I guess, I don't know, maybe it's great. Who knows? I would have seen if it didn't look appealing to me. But I guess I'm catching myself in that this game is borrows the aesthetics of film that I like, whereas Telling Lies is like very like kind of FX television kind of vibe that I don't vibe with. So
I wonder if that was because I mean I was the one kind of like bump into Quantum Break earlier this year, which is like the ultimate like what if an FX show was a video game, or like it's more Sci-Fi Channel actually, but like it is like very kind of off-center prestige television is like the vibe, right?
For sure. What happens in Immortality?
So Immortality follows the career of it's Marissa, right? I always get it.
Marissa
Marcel. I always keep thinking it's Melissa for some reason, but
what happened to her?
What happened to her? She ate hot chip and died. Okay. She's an actress in First Ambrosio, which is like a Black Narcissus-y, I get, like late 60s sort of nunsploitation flick. But like studio system thing, and then went and co-wrote a film with the director of photography for that called Minsky, where an actor died and so it was never released.
Sorry, I just love the word Minsky.
Which is like a 70s neo-noir. What is like the wave of people that like Scorsese and De Palma and I mean to a lesser degree like Spielberg and Lucas, like 70s cinema. There's like a name for it, I swear to God, but it's kind of like that. Like it's kind of blow up or is that am I mixing it up? Is that what that De Palma movie about where John Travolta plays the film editor?
You're asking the wrong person.
Oh God.
Sorry.
Anyway, it's like that. It's that kind of vibe.
Yes.
And then after this happens, this actor, her co-star Carl Greenwood is accidentally killed on set, and then she disappears. John Derek, who is director of photography for Ambrosio and directed Minsky, kept making movies, and they reunited in the 90s for another film that never got finished, and then Marissa disappeared again. And the game is just in a similar fashion to Her Story. It is about watching clips from the production of these films, which includes like behind the scenes stuff, audition tapes, and is also like complete takes of any given scene. So like often it'll have the opening slate and the tail slate in it, or there'll be members of the crew who show up right at the end to put makeup on or do stuff like that, right? Or they'll be like bantering or talking after, during footage, or arguing about how something should be shot, right? Or you hear like the director directing and stuff. And it's about like investigating that stuff. But there is a twist. On some clips, you hear a like droning sound, and if you play the footage backwards, / like kind of flip, because you can just kind of hit a button to rewind the reel. But you can also kind of like physically pull the reel back. I mean, not actually, but there's like you can use the stick to like do that. And by doing a couple of those, you can like access clips of this immortal being who's only called the One, talking. And she question mark is the part of like is an immortal creature that is sort of vampiric but not exactly, who can take on, and they can take on various forms. They can sort of steal the physical embodiment of other people by, I think, like maybe, hurting or ingesting them somehow. And it turns out that she was Marissa Marcel, and then killed John Derek during the production of Minsky and took his place. And she is like sort of friends or compatriots or enemies or lovers or, this like with the other one, who's another one of these immortal beings who was Carl Greenwood in Minsky and then, was killed by her, and sort of Two of Everything, which is the final film. It was like her attempt to kind of finally make something that integrated like all these selves, but she couldn't sustain it. There was something about like embodying both John Derek and Marissa Marcel at the same time was like too much, and so she decides to like burn herself on film, mimicking the way that the other one was killed to, kind of become immortal in a different way than she already is. Right? It's sort of, it's, ambiguous what exactly that means or what it does. That's basically like what occurs, right? Is there like big broad stroke stuff that I should cover?
No, I think we pretty much got it.
Cool. Yeah, what did you think?
So I really like the parts of the game where you're watching the movies and match cutting, because that's how you like interact.
Yeah,
with the footage.
You can like click on, if you click on a glass of water, then it'll cut to another glass of water or another glass, right, in a different scene and stuff like that. Yeah.
The part where it's about these two beings throughout history, I'm very indifferent to.
Yeah, I think even though this is a game that does have like key ambiguities and big questions, I think it does explain itself too much.
Yes.
And I kind of wish there were like half the encounters you can have with these beings that there are. Because I think the moment the game worked the best for me was the first time I like stumbled into a clip. And this is actually a good question, like what was the first clip where you encountered them? But for me, it was the scene where I forget, Goodman, Carl Greenwood's character, who's like a cop who's investigating the murder of this famous artist, is at a gallery show and is talking with the artist Minsky. This is the name of the artist. This is the name of the film. Like girlfriend who's, the number one suspect, and is played by Marissa Marcel. So they're talking, and the last shot is them like leaving the frame. And I think I just rewinded to like check something or get some dialogue.
Yeah.
And so then rewinding and like a new person coming out of the frame, right?
Yeah.
That I had was like genuinely really unnerving, right? And so I think that central device is like pretty strong.
Yes. Yeah, I think my thing with this game is that I like it on a purely aesthetic level, and I don't think any of the themes are very interesting in the like the kind of the one and the other kind of stuff. The part where it's about you're exploring the career of this woman, who and it's mostly just like about how shitty the film industry is, as it exploits like the beauty of like these women and just like running through the ringer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The part where Melissa Marcel has this like onset affair and this movie never releases basically because of that, is really good, because they just have like that they have the rap party where like Marissa like makes a comment to like the producer that like, yeah, you'll see this footage and I'm sure you're like what you're gonna see, and then the movie just never comes out because of it.
Oh yeah,
that stuff's really cool. Or like it's like it works for me. I like Minsky. I think Minsky's fun as like aesthetically as a movie. A Two of Everything is like very fun. And I like the aesthetics of just like the different time periods and the different film styles. Like a lot of the Two of Everything stuff is shot on video, which is like a really cool touch.
Yeah, like all the rehearsal footage is like on handheld like camcorder stuff, which is cool. Yeah,
it's really cool, and I really like the fact that Ambrosio is like the different aspect ratio and stuff like that. I think that stuff is really cool.
Yeah, well, and there's all that like Minsky footage where they're using like a Super 8 or something.
Yeah.
And it's also the compressed aspect ratio.
I really like all that stuff. And I really like, I think Marissa is like compelling as like a protagonist, just in terms of like just having this actress that you're watching, and I just think it's cool. I just think the idea is cool of just tracking this person's career, and just exploring, like I mentioned earlier, just the Hollywood stuff and like the weird affairs, on-set affairs and stuff like that. I think that's fine. And works for me. The other stuff, like you said, I like it as like aesthetically, like when you rewind the footage, I think it's effective when it gives you a jump scare of the other like interacting with the scenes and stuff. That's cool.
Well, I think it does. I think it helps the game a lot that both. I think Manon Gage plays Marissa, and then Charlotta Molin plays the one, and they're both very strong. Like I think the performances generally are inconsistent, but they are really good.
They're incredible. They're really good.
Yeah, and I think that it just would not work. I think at all. Like if you didn't have it. I mean, I think I don't exactly disagree, and I sort of wonder, because I think I have like a big issue with this game that is maybe just unsolvable.
Sure.
Given what it is. But this game has so many long single takes. Because it is like part of it is just literally that like if you shoot like shot reverse shot, you shoot like one half of the conversation and then you shoot the other half, or you have two cameras set up or whatever. So it's like what you're getting is not necessarily how it would be presented in the movie. You're getting like the thing as shot. But there's also kind of a thing where this game is already kind of, and I don't mean this in a bad way, and in fact, I kind of wish it was more like this. It's already kind of work because you have to like figure out what objects you haven't clicked on and like figure out how to find new clips and like keep in your head like how all this stuff arranges and relates to each other and what order things are in. And the game gives you like tools to interface with that. And like I eventually like started favoriting all the footage where the one showed up, for example, so I could like keep track of like where I had found her already. And things like that, right? Like it's not, it's pretty seamless, but it is kind of you do the editing work, right? Is like the sort of thing. But I think that's kind of I don't know, it's kind of the issue for me is that it's like, to me, cinema is the cut. That's like, and I guess there are movies where people don't cut, but I don't care about those damn movies. Who gives a fuck about 1918? Or 1917, I'm sorry. I forgot the name of the movie. Who cares? Like and I think that there's something that is lost in that you don't have as intimate or direct a relationship with like cutting, and also that you kind of own, you generally speaking, at least as far as, maybe there's a lot more footage that I haven't found and things like that, right? But generally speaking, you only sort of get one take of a scene. And I kind of wish you got like multiple takes of scenes. I wish you got more like shot, reverse shot. You get the same conversation, but from the other perspective, right? There's even some stuff where, like there's an actress in Two of Everything, because Two of Everything is about a pop star who has like a body double, and there's an actress who like plays the, whatever, because Marissa plays both parts, but whatever part Marissa's not playing, this other person is like in the frame, like to the back, and her hair is to the back of the camera, right? To like represent her. And it's like, I wish we got the other shots where we get like both sides of that conversation of like Marissa speaking to herself. And there's, to be clear, there's stuff like this in the game. It is there. It's not like it's not there. I just wish there was more of it. And I wish it felt more like I'm an editor than I am like a person who is playing with this interactive narrative app, which is kind of what it feels like, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff like you're describing in the game. It's mostly in Two of Everything, where it is functional to the plot. Like it's about right, the one like being like trying to perfect, like trying to make this movie. Like there's one of my favorites is like there's one in Two of Everything where she keeps like redoing the same line over and over again.
Yeah.
It's like the airport. I think it's the airport one.
Yes. Yeah.
And like, it doesn't matter the line read, but like she's determined to keep like perfecting this because she's just not happy with whatever is going on with that take.
Yeah.
And I think that stuff's really good, but it is like functional to the plot of the game. And like, you don't really get that stuff that much early on.
It is like you do get the occasional shot where it's like there's the shot. I mean, some of this stuff, it's like, I don't know if you saw this, right? But like there's that shot of like the cat walking across the frame. Yeah. In Two of Everything, there's a shot of like a snake and a rose in Ambrosio, right? Yeah. That is just like a little intershot that would be edited into the film, and instead you see is this like bare little thing. And I like that stuff a lot, and I just wish the game was like full of that kind of thing, or even like shots where it's just like a single line read, or like, but because it has to communicate, like not only it has to communicate the plot of the film, it has to communicate this like meta plot in two directions, right? Because it's both about the production of the film itself and about this like immortal being who's like inhabiting several of the characters. Or these two immortal beings who are inhabiting several of the characters, and like that's also a meta narrative, right? And so it kind of,
it also has to. There's also another like meta device that it has to do, which is connect to another clip.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So and I just think multiple functions of each. Which is
to say it's hard to do. But I think, it's like weird to say because I wish this game was more work than it is. And that sounds weird. And I don't know that other people would agree with me, but that is like my feeling. And I think that ties in like to the thing that I do like about Her Story, where you are a person who has like a relationship to the story. I kind of feel, because a lot of the stuff with the one is like there's a lot of stuff in this game that I think is kind of trite or a little bit I don't know if it's necessarily obvious because it is trying, there's things it's doing with it, but it's like gaze and looking and like who is looking, and the fact that like that for the one to make films in the way she wants to make films, she has to be a man, right? She can't be Marissa anymore. Yes. And like that, that there's like this gaze stuff. And thing that makes the one scary, right, is that she looks back at you, right? That she is not, she's not like the director of Ambrosio talking about like, they're basically just like, hey, the Virgin Horror Complex, we're just going to play that out in this movie, right? And like, you were both meant to be looked at, but you mean different things. But you are not, you're just objects, right? that she is someone who immediately subverts that and refuses to be objectified and will return the look, right? Damn it, I forgot where I was going with that. I mean, I think that's a good point to make generally. Yeah.
It is way better at delivering those themes than Her Story by a mile.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. Although, yeah, I have some, I think criticisms of it we'll get to later.
Give it to me now. This is the podcast.
Well, I think one of the things about it, I think particularly with the one, is that I think with Two of Everything, there's sort of this, because she tries to be both the star, right, and the director. And for whatever reason, and kind of for plot contrivance, really, she cannot hold both those things at once.
Yeah.
And doing that causes literal, psychic damage, right? And physical damage, right? That it's she is hurt and bleeds and, comes close to dying and eventually, kills herself because of this stuff. Oh, I remember what I was getting to earlier. So I'll put a pin in that. And I think that there's something kind of uncomfortable about that to me. Even though, also it's not interesting, right? If she succeeds, that's not an interest, or she succeeds in a conventional way, right? Where she gets to make the film. Because I think that's part of the ambiguity of the ending, right? Is maybe she does succeed. Maybe she does become immortal in this meaningful human way, right? As opposed to the way that the kind of invisible way that she lives forever now. The thing I was going to say earlier was just that I think the stuff with the one kind of makes more sense to me if I'm not the person playing Immortality, but if I am a person compiling, a film student compiling footage, or an assistant editor who's putting everything in chronological order or whatever.
Yeah.
It makes more sense to me if there's a person, an embodiment that then the freaky shit in the footage is speaking to, rather than, does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just think, and that's part of my issue, not necessarily issue, but why, my indifference towards that stuff comes in, where it's it's too broad. For me, it's okay, so this being is wants to create art and is wants to entertain humanity and stuff like that, and the other being doesn't care about humanity. I can't. And the only part where that is interesting is where, you mentioned, the stuff with just the gaze and looking back at you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's the only part of it where I find interesting. Everything else is just why do I care about this? Why?
Yeah.
Why is there a scene with the two beings it's Zardoz and it's them over? I don't care. I was invested.
Man, this
in
wishes this was Zardoz.
Wishes, but I was just invested in the act of watching the films and yes, the intercuts that was cool, but then the broader plot of these two I don't care, and it's it's too and then the part where it's me the viewer she is a part of me now I don't care I truly do not give a shit,
Right. Well, I kind of don't. I kind of don't know. Again, I think I don't know what that means if it's just me, Grace.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think the thing is that if you play a character in the game, you can do both. It can implicate you too. Right, it can involve you. I think that invisibility and sort of the because it kind of takes this half step where it's oh, this is this interactive interface that people made to engage with the work of Marissa Marcel. And it's is every one of these haunted? Then is that what this is? Or is what it doesn't quite. It's this weird half step where it's it has to do this construction so that it can be a video game and not a super long movie, right? But it also doesn't quite line that up with everything else. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it also, requires more work to like make a more complex interface or have like a frame narrative or do, it's not, that takes time. That's not nothing. And maybe there's something like that existed and it was cut for some reason, who I don't know.
Yeah.
I was going to speak to something you talked about. Like, yeah, I do agree that it's too broad. I was thinking about that scene because you can play it back in the like police interrogation room scene. And she talks about the art versus the law, right? And that like every human conflict in history is about artists versus the law. And that's like the dynamic that she and the other one embody, right? Like she's an artist and he's the law. And like, how does that,
Yeah.
And that is whatever to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think about how they are maybe Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene? How are you feeling about that?
Stupid. I think it's dumb. Man, I forgot about that plot point until you said it. And I played this game like a month ago.
Yeah.
God, stupid. Oh my God.
I mean, I agree. I also think there's something kind of like, it makes sense because it's about like American cinema of the 70s and 90s, right? Like it is not an international perspective on the world, but there is something kind of like, this implies like a lot of things about religion in general, that do not get explored. It's just Christianity. Like they did the Christianity stuff, but like our other immortals, is like, is Buddha one of these guys? Right?
Yeah.
Is like, and I'm not saying you have to like, but it just feels like kind of centralized on this, on one belief system. And it makes sense because it's like related to stuff, Ambrosio is about like a monk and it's based on a Gothic novel from the like 1700s or 1800s. So, it's related, it's directly related, but it just seems like it's just focused on a particular kind of slice of the world in a certain way. Right. Maybe this is the thing is that they make these claims like, oh, we created the story of Jesus to like uplift humanity. We created, literally the greatest story. Right. Mm-hmm. And it didn't work. But I think they're sort of like, well, but it didn't work for who? Like, cause there's a lot of other like greatest stories out there, right? Like it's not just that one. Right. So, for like, is Muhammad one of these guys? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And how does this relate to like Jesus is the conceptions of Islam and it is like, it's that broadness kind of contributes to like a weird pitfall there, I think, where it's like not fully thought through.
For sure. Yeah. And like, yeah, the thing, and that like, this is so much more ink than I expected us to be talking about this stuff. Because I mostly just, when I think about this game, I mostly just talk about how I want to talk about how like goofy the Ambrosio guy is.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about the song "Two of Everything," written by Natalie Watson.
Like, really?
Yes. Like,
wow,
I want to talk about that goofy shit and stuff like what the game is trying to do, which I find less interesting.
Yeah, well, I think we did get a question that I think we will definitely talk about the goofy shit in relation to that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think if I have thoughts about that stuff.
I will give it the part where you rewind the initial late night interview is good.
Yeah,
I like that.
That's
cool.
Really good. I mean, it's still like a big exposition thing, but
yes,
it is.
Yes, but the execution of it is great. I really like the film like continually being distorted to the point where you can't make out anybody in the footage.
Yeah,
that's sick. Love that.
It is really cool.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
But yeah. So that's kind of where I fall on it. Like I like everything around engaging with it and poking at it, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely was like compelled by that stuff because part of it was also I didn't Because there's sometimes when you rewind the footage, it'll just go straight into a segment with the one. And there's also stuff where when you rewind it, you get like an after image or like a superimposition, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have to like get the reel to spin at a certain speed, and then it will lock you in. Mm-hmm. And I didn't figure that out until literally last night at like 10 p.m.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, I have to go back through like a bunch of clips and like remember where the overlays were, because I remember those, but I didn't know that you could like interface them or with them more directly than that. Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was actually how at the scene where I realized what the thing was. And I remember being really stuck on like not figuring out like what the thing that I was supposed to be doing was.
Right.
Because I was just like kind of like left match cutting things. And I was just like, I am stuck. I don't know what to do.
Right.
But then I saw one of the overlays. It was the Two of Everything scene where she sings.
Which is great. That's one of the best
scenes
in the game.
I kept trying to rewind it. But it was one of those things where I had to do it at a certain speed, and you like have to use like the D-pad to like slow it down in a specific way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I figured out what to do with that. So
What was that the first clip you saw the one in?
Yeah.
Was that one or that's a cool one to see first. The first one I saw was sure, talking about smoking. Which is also good because it's not plot related at all. It's just like her being creepy. It just being like, yes, you found a way to take tame fire and make it pleasurable, which is like an interesting Prometheus thing, So
I need to open these can of worms.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Please do.
How do you feel about the way that sex is used in this game?
I feel pretty mixed about it, I would say, or maybe that's being generous. I think there's kind of an interesting thing. Like, I kind of like the stuff where, is it Fisher, who's the director of Ambrosio, is like, well, and Douglas Simmons, who's like, or Simons or something, who's like the guy who's going to play Minsky originally, who quits because he refuses to do nudity, right? Like, I kind of like the way that there's this like old guard of cinema that's especially like prudish and weird about male nudity, right?
Yeah.
And there being this kind of like, and I think also this, there's a lot of stuff about like, nudity being freeing or interesting or powerful, or a position of like there's that part where the final Ambrosio scene where he's on like it's kind of like in the Bible when the devil takes Jesus to like the mountains or whatever, and she's like running down all the horrible things he did and all the like weird stuff that he didn't know that he did. And then she's like, I don't like wearing the dress. Like, I feel so like impeded. And John Derek is just like, well, let's just get you naked then. Right. And like, and there's something interesting about that. Like it's trying to do this thing where it's like, hey, like, this is someone in a real way. The one in every one of the situations is the most powerful person in the room. And it kind of ties back into that, like, returning the look, right? Mm-hmm. That like, she is literally the most dangerous thing. Right. And so she has this ability to like not be broken in by this stuff. And does that make sense? That like she can be naked and it is like power, right? In really explicit ways. And I think I understand how that works in like I understand how you can read that in like a feminist way. Right. However, I also think it is like, I mean, it kind of goes, it's not quite as simple as in Her Story. It's like, oh, this is sort of a story about like women being two-faced and duplicitous, right?
Yes.
But it is a story about like a woman using her body to manipulate, trick, and murder men, right? And, and it's complicated and she's sympathetic and, some of these men are awful. It's not clean, right? But in a real way, like she's kind of the only person in the film who's not a victim, and a lot of men are made into victims, right? And that is like a fact of how it works, right? And I like,
Sure.
yeah, I feel a little two-faced about it, if that makes sense. Like, I think it really depends on how you lean on it. But I'm in this case anyway, I just feel more paranoid than I feel generous about it, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, that was kind of a long thing, so please follow up on anything there.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. Okay. A lot of thoughts.
yeah.
Trying to collect
It's fine.
them.
There's a lot going on. Yeah.
I think the things that bother me about the game, like I don't think the murder aspect stuff bothers me too much. Because I like that is what, like, I understand what it's going for, and ultimately this game is better than. You haven't seen Last Night in Soho, have you?
Oh, I have not.
That
yeah.
So that more or less has the same thing going on. And spoilers for this movie if you haven't seen it, but it's a bad movie. But it's basically like she is evil because she murdered the men that exploit her. But like, yeah, she's sympathetic because of that, but also she's still evil and she still needs to die.
Right.
And it's like, what is happening? Anyway, this game is not that.
No.
And I like that, and that didn't bother me. What bothered me more was the amount of times I could match cut the boobs in this game.
Yeah.
And the sort of just how long the scenes lingered on, and it just felt, on one hand, like, I understand the kind of critique of like the gays and stuff like that, but when it's the way that it's deployed, it's also just like you're also indulging in it, and it kind of rings hollow as well when it's engaging that much in the thing that it's critiquing.
Right. Well, also, like, I only did like the boob match cut like twice, I think. And one of the first times was like it cuts to that scene just before the main character in Two of Everything is murdered for, like, you know, resisting this billionaire who's trying to sexually assault her, and like her wife like rips her blouse open. And so I think there is this direct thing where it's like, hey, if you click on the boob, you might get this scene where like someone is literally being turned into meat, right? Like, is this very literal, like, her inability to like give her body over to this person is going to kill her, right? And like, not, that makes it sound like it's her fault. It's not, like, she's being murdered, right? This guy is killing her because he can't own her, right? And, you know, he can't pay her millions of dollars and, you know, sexually assault her. That's not on the table, right? And so it's like I understand, like, I agree, like, I understand what is happening there. But, and maybe this is just because, you know, I grew up Mormon, but like those functions of shame that the game, I think, occasionally indulges in, I just find so tiresome. Like, I just don't think it gets anywhere interesting. And I think you're right. Like, I think it does, like, indulge it just as much as it critiques it, right?
What do you mean by functions of shame?
Oh, just that it's like, I think you are supposed to feel shame for clicking on the boob when you go to like a sexual assault scene, right?
Yes.
You know, like, you're supposed to be like, oh, like, I didn't think that, you know, there. And I think the thing is that also like kind of presumes a certain kind of audience member who is watching and playing.
Yes.
Right.
That too.
Which is, you know, which makes sense. Like, a lot of people play video games are men, or, you know, whatever. Like, I understand, but I think, I don't quite have a bead on exactly how I feel about this, but what do you think about sort of there's not a lot of queer stuff in this game, but it is there. And it's particularly in the like Minsky stuff. Because there's like, they put the Hollywood star handsome man in a dress, right? And there's like, I don't know if you got this clip, but there's a scene where like Marissa is urging John and Carl Greenwood to kiss each other.
Oh yeah.
And they do eventually. I think there's another clip where they do. And then I was actually wondering if that was like after the other one takes him over or something, but indeterminable. And then, and it's also mentioned that Minsky used to cross-dress when he, and I forget what his muse's name is played by Marissa's play, but when they were having sex. And I don't quite know what to make of all that. And particularly that it's so concentrated in this one section of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it either. Mm-hmm. It feels very using that as aesthetic, I guess.
Yeah.
To sort of paint the era that they're in, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Well, because that's also, like Andy Warhol was, photographing trans women and stuff, right? Like, and it was kind of exploitative, right? But that was like part of that period, and this artistic moment, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And there's stuff, I guess, with, I think that, I don't know. I think it's just kind of that, Yeah. And the other part I would say would be like, the stuff with the one is like, it is like, I feel like it's encouraged to read that character as gender neutral, but it very clearly pointedly is not. Like,
I
because
agree.
there's the whole thing, because the whole thing is like, it's the one and the other one, and like there's a very patriarchal kind of relationship that they have. And so that kind of like negates like that reading of that character for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think there is some intention there because the other one turns into Amy. Yeah. So he does kind of become a woman and after she's John and stuff. Yeah. Right. And there's also that I don't know if did you see the like, I mean, it's probably, her name's probably not Marissa, but like her taking Marissa,
right? Yes,
like biting her, and is like, it's like this black man is playing the one in that sequence, right? Yeah. So there is like a kind of, but you're right, like their relationship, and even that like law versus the artist, it like feels like it's intentional that the law is embodied and personified in some way by a guy, and the artist is embodied by a woman, right? Yeah. And they are also both, I think this is also kind of weird, where they're both really androgynous, and that's also part of what makes them scary, right? At least a good sort of visual configuration, right? Which I don't think is like, I'm not out here being like, this game is bigoted or whatever, but like, it's just a weird kind of visual thing that it feels a little uncomfortable to me.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing I was going to say with the boys kissing, Marissa urging the boys to kiss, being a Fujiyoshi or something, is that it's kind of turning this like thing, I guess, on its head, where like men like to watch women kiss and things like that, right? That like she is doing that to these guys. It is kind of flat and trite, I guess. I don't think that really does anything for me, though.
That didn't even occur to me. So
yeah. I feel like also I kind of wish, because I wrapped this game up, like I like rolled credits on it like 2 or 3 days ago, and then was still tinkering around with it yesterday, and this morning was like the last time I touched it. And I do kind of think, I sort of wonder, like, if we recorded this like a week later, what would I be feeling and thinking, But yeah, because it is something like I am going to think about it, it is going to stick in my mind, but like, I don't know that it's going to, it might not turn out good for it. I guess it's just to say, I could see it going either way, I guess.
Yeah, I think in my mind, like I said, I mean, I've said it like 5 times already, but I just like aesthetically this game a lot, and I think it's cool for for the stuff that it does, like on face value more than any like thematic stuff, I guess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because I do like thinking about this game when I'm thinking about like the 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 Two of Everything song is good. It's fun.
It is good, yeah. When it's such a of that moment kind of thing.
I like the weird ass Minsky sets. I think that's cool.
Yeah, the warehouse where the artists hang out, or
that like indoor warehouse where everything is like a weird aluminum like reflective thing. Very goofy. I like that stuff.
Yeah, and
I guess I also like some of the imagery. Like, I like that shot of Marissa in between the two masks, and then you rewind it, and it's like the two dudes who have died, and the one is just like standing there. Like, that's cool to me. I like that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I like that. I like when he stabs the portrait, and then he's like stabbing the one or whatever. I think that's cool.
Yeah,
I like it. I like when things are kind of creepy.
Yeah, it's pretty classic.
It's pretty classic. It's pretty cool. I like when she fucking bleeds out on the fucking bar. That's cool as shit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's cool.
I think not all the gore in this game work. In fact, I think on average, maybe it doesn't work for me. Like, there's that scene where John's like bleeding on the floor and his neck has been sliced open or whatever. I don't care about that. Whatever. But the scene where she's like all of a sudden starts bleeding from the head.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's good. She just bleeds everywhere and fucking passes out. I love that. And then they go burn her.
Yeah, you heard it here first, cool. Everyone. Rose loves it when women die.
That's not what I mean.
I know. I'm just
the way the image, the imagery is evocative.
I agree. I'm just giving you a hard time. I'm not seriously accusing you of anything.
Also, speaking of, if we're talking about like death in this game, the fact that the gun going off, this game came out like a week after the fucking Alec Baldwin. That was crazy. That shit was crazy.
Yeah,
it was that's crazy.
I kind of was expecting there to be more. Maybe it was because that incident sort of primed me. But I was like, who loaded the gun? Like, what? I've assumed that there was going to be some sort of like discussion of that.
Right.
And there like isn't,
Did you get the
at least as far as I saw.
Did you get there's like there's a lot of clips where you have to really dig to get them.
Yeah.
And I think if there's one like big flaw is that some clips you have to like click on things multiple times because you kind of just run out of ways to engage with the clips. And it's kind of just like random which clips you're gonna get at a certain point. I think that's like the biggest issue I have with the game. Just like formally is like some stuff is just like kind of random. I did like 100% this game at one point, and like I was just ending up like clicking on things and hoping like the RNG lined up that I just got a certain scene.
Yeah, totally.
And that's unfortunate.
There's
one in Minsky where she kind of talks to camera. She talks to camera about like the incident on set and like how she regrets like that stuff and like she's retiring because of that.
I don't think I saw the like, because it's just in the clip where she gets shot, like her and the other one talking, the one and the other one talking, but I didn't see like this what you're talking about. Yeah. Which is,
there's a little bit of fallout with that, but it's, that clip is pretty hidden. So
Yeah, it's also tough because I really wish I'd like bookmarked every time I saw like the after image, because then it would have been so much easier for me to just go through and find every after image, because I just bookmarked the ones where it was like I got a scene and then like they're all scenes, and I think I agree. I think that also shows like I think there's a way to read the like object selection, the image mode or match cut stuff as like building this network of like connections between images.
Yeah.
And thinking about that stuff in
we'll be honest,
ways.
I never used that.
Well, yeah, I don't because I think it doesn't like you kind of eventually you have to just start clicking on things and be like, okay, well, if I click on the script or I haven't clicked on that ladder before, it becomes more pixel hunty than like, I'm thinking about like how different images like relate to each other. And I think that's also one of the things is I just like editing, and I just wish games had editing. And it is far to me that like this technically does, but it's random and it's sort of algorithmicized, right? It's not deliberate. And like, I know that I'm just being like, wish I was watching a movie, but this is how I feel. God damn it. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, I wish there was just some damn shot reverse shot. I want it,
I appreciate this hill that you're on.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you're enabling me. That's what podcast hosts do for each other.
I can't say I agree with it, but I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. I mean, we did end up talking about this game a lot longer than I thought we would. So
yeah,
maybe there's something to that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's got a lot going on. I'm not I wouldn't say that it doesn't. But yeah, I think I think it's both like I struggle with sort of the formal apparatus of it, and I think some like kind of like you said, although I think I would state it a little more harshly than you would, that it's more arbitrary than I would want it to be. Right? And also that I just lean more towards to put it kind of in softer terms maybe, but like I lean more towards the paranoid kind of negative readings of this game than I lean towards the positive readings of it. And I think that's, and that's just, sometimes that's the way cookie crumbles.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I also think, sorry, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page and it talks about the end of the thing. It's like the grid containing the clips they've collected during the game slowly disappears, revealing the face of the One. They tell the player they are part of you now, implying the player is now their new host. And I'm like, I don't actually think that is the implication at all. Like that is a leap that is being made that I do not think is true.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah. I think it's very clearly about
tortures herself to
it's
become
about
immortal in the film.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. It's about becoming art, right?
Yeah.
It's not about being like, I'm now you're me. It's like about becoming the artistic thing.
It's the thing that is the whole point of the game. It's the whole point of the game.
I think it's just very funny that
there's
this
about art.
Yeah.
Come on. Gamers.
There's just Wikipedia, man. It's just this very literal reading of that moment, which I think is like very silly.
That's immortality. I think I'm tapped out. I like the sets. Sets are cool.
Yeah.
Sets are cool. The actors I like mostly. I think that stuff is cool.
Yeah.
Pretty classic. All right. We'll do questions because I feel like I'm repeating myself now.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I think I've said all my big, like, waving my flag here of being a hater.
I don't even think you're a hater. I just think you wanted something different from it. And
yeah,
also,
I think that's definitely part of it. But
and also, Sam Barlow is a little bit weird about women.
Yeah, also
I think those are fair critiques.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm not. I'm principled. You know. Okay. Yeah. Let's move on to questions.
All right, I'll do the first one. This is from Gavo. The modern approach to live action filmmaking in horror games, like Alan Wake 2 and Immortality, is really cool and feels noticeably different from both the prestige games of now, that's fucking true, and the FMV games from the past like Ripper and Harvester. Do you think there is still value in these older FMV titles that future game designers can learn from? Or is the Barlow approach the best we'll get? I appreciate the clear love for cinema that Immortality has and how Her Story unwinds as mystery, but I can't help but feel nostalgic for the uncanny days of old CGI and dorky actors like Phantasmagoria 2. Let me tell you that there is a Google Doc that has the safe room in it, titled... And as a list of games that we will play, and Phantasmagoria is on there.
Yeah, we're gonna get to it. I'm really excited about it.
But I broadly agree with this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I guess part of it to me is that I will say I don't think the Barlow mode or like Immortality is that far removed from Phantasmagoria.
Yeah,
like in
true.
terms of affect and presentation, and obviously like I think the acting is, I don't even think it's the acting in Phasmagoria 2 is necessarily like bad. It's just like 90s TV acting, you know, in the way that like Immortality is kind of like Netflix streaming show acting, right? And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I just mean that they're of the time that they're in, right? And I think also there's a lot of that goofiness that is very much present in especially Immortality, right? Feels tied into that stuff. Although I do wish Immortality took itself a smidge less seriously. But, you know, what can you do? But yeah, that is to say, I do think there is stuff to learn. I also feel a little bit out of my depth here because I've watched a bunch of Phantasmagoria 2 clips. And that has been my primary interaction with FMV games. And that's something we're going to correct on this pod and that I'd like to correct broadly. Like, I really like to play, or at least watch Dia play Gabriel Knight. You know, there's stuff in this mode that people really like and seem to think is really good. And I do think that it is good that we are getting more of that stuff back. But I also would just like caution against maybe, and I don't think this question is doing that, but like being like, oh, now we're in the good era of FMV and thank God we've gotten out of the bad era of FMV, right? Like, I think it's all part of the same kind of aesthetic mode. I think it's all kind of interesting. And not all of it in the past works, but I think some of it does. I think Phantasmagoria 2, like from what I've seen of it, seems like just a cool, good game. And it has some like 90s affects to it, and it's kind of goofy, but like it just seems good to me. Like it doesn't, you know, and maybe I just don't, maybe I'm wrong, but like that's my feeling, right?
Yeah. No, not about that. I just think that these two things aren't as different as the framing of it implies, I guess. Yeah. Like I think when there's I think Alan Wake 2 can be as goofy as Phantasmagoria 2 and often is. It's just the method of which you're interacting with the game is different.
Yeah, and I think it also feels, I think people really value, which I don't think I do personally, but I think people really value a like self-consciousness, like those, you know, the advertisements in Alan Wake 2 from the Coscavella brothers, or I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. Yeah. But they, like, they're intentionally bad, right? In a certain sense, right? And that's like, I don't mind that, but I don't think I necessarily mind when something is, like, I like camp, right? I like when things are campy, and it is not like, oh, it's so bad it's good. It is an aesthetic affect that I sincerely enjoy. Yes. And I think that's like Phantasmagoria. It's just like, yeah, I just enjoy that realm. And it doesn't, I don't have to like be distant from it to enjoy it. I just like it, you know?
Yep. I like when Alan Wake and Zane have that stupid drug trip scene. It's good.
Called Return.
Because we return. Yeah.
That's so true. Yeah. Well, thank you, Gabo, for the great question.
Yeah.
All right. We have a question from Emrys, which says, please help. I am stuck constantly funneling back to the same clips in Immortality, and while I have a lot of the story down, I can't seem to finish it out. How will I know when I'm satisfied?
We kind of touched on this.
Yeah.
I was like 5 hours into Immortality and hadn't figured out the thing yet, and I was getting so frustrated. I ended up like DMing people and was like, "What the fuck do I do?"
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel like Immortality has this problem more than Her Story, but Immortality is more interesting. So take your pick, I guess.
Yeah. I do think that I think this question is simultaneously like just like the friction that you and I both talked about with engaging with the thing and the ways that is both interesting and kind of hard to sometimes can be boring or difficult to deal with, right? But I think there's also kind of an existential question here that's like, when is the story over when there isn't a last page of the book or a final minute of the movie, right? And, you know, I don't know if I can really answer that for you. I will say that maybe a good way to figure out if you're satisfied is maybe just take a step back from it, right? Like take a day and don't play it. And maybe you've done this already, right? But then and then if you're like still thinking about it, or if you're like, oh, I wonder what happened with this, or I want to figure this out, you can come back. And then also no shame, zero shame in looking up a guide, especially if you have a brain like mine, and just being like, I'm just going to 100% achieve this thing and, you know, do that. Like there's nothing wrong with doing that, right? You should feel no shame or no consumption. That is a proper and good way to engage with the video game. Right. So that maybe that's helpful. I don't know, but stuff to think about.
Are you not familiar with this forum post this is referencing?
Oh, I am not.
Here you go.
When do we find it out? What next? That's wild.
Yeah. How do I know when I'm satisfied? Oh, there's a second picture you're not seeing if you're just...
Oh, okay, hold on. I'm clicking on the thing. Yes, okay, I have seen this before. My God, great. How do I decide when I'm satisfied? Oh, wow.
But I couldn't step on you answering this earnestly. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I have autism, everyone. Okay.
Like, this is great. No, this is a good answer to this question. Not everybody just shitposts.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'll do the last one.
Yeah.
As an FMV and mystery game fan, I loved Her Story and then absolutely adored Immortality. This is from Jen, by the way. I didn't say that. Mm-hmm. Anytime the one addressed me, it was chilling, uncomfortable. It was a chilling, uncomfortable experience, but the moment that absolutely terrified me in a packed church during the rewind, everybody disappeared, and she slowly entered the scene and advanced from the back of the room. That's also a sick scene.
Yeah, that's good.
Games directly acknowledging the player isn't anything new, but it's rare to see it work this well or get under my skin this effectively. Have there been meta-narrative moments in other horror games that freaked you out? And if you were making your horror game, how would you unnerve the player by acknowledging their presence?
Just a good question. I mean, I think that initial time I found the one did work for me. Pretty straightforwardly. I'm trying to think about like other stuff, because I think this is maybe kind of a weird answer in terms of like meta narrative moments in other horror games, but I'm writing about Dark Souls 2 right now for GameSpot for like the 15th anniversary or whatever, 10th anniversary actually, I think. And something that I think is cool about that game, and I think is interesting in it compared to other Souls games, is that it's kind of an isekai. It's like you're from somewhere else and you come to this other world to be, to find something for you and bring it back, right? And I think, and there's also like all these other people in Dark Souls 2 who are also kind of doing the same thing and have been there longer than you or been there shorter than you or whatever. And you're kind of peers, but also enemies, but also friends. And the way that game kind of dramatizes this like losing yourself in this other thing and turns that into this like plot device through which characters like experience crises of identity and, prior relationships they've had are strained and things like that. It's, to me, it's very subtle, which I really appreciate about it. Like, it's not making it's not, turning to the camera or, speaking directly to the player in a way that like Black Spec Ops does, for example, but that kind of like uneasiness and the way you like sink into this other role and become wholly this other thing that is also like a warrior obsessed with and haunted by death, right? I think that is scary and interesting and powerful, and it works so well, partially because it doesn't lean hard on any like big metafictional ideas. It's just like this unsettling kind of whisper that is at the base of the game and how it works, right? I think that's really cool. I think that's maybe the thing I would point to here, at least off the top of my head.
Yeah.
How about you? Do you have a thought here?
My first thought was Fatal Frame, and just the fact that the key, like the main mechanic is this acknowledgement of the player. Like you have to take pictures of ghosts that are lunging at you,
Right.
And then my other thought is anatomy, which is not fair.
No, it's fair.
Anatomy is just good. It's just good.
This is real good.
Yeah. And like
that really is maybe.
Yeah, and the fucking the forced closing of the game and reopening it, and then like all that stuff. Yeah, it's good.
Mm-hmm, totally good. That arguably the best game we've played for the show.
Yeah, you could argue that.
Yeah. I don't think I would.
It's up there.
Yeah, but it's top 5 easy. Top 3 probably. Yeah. What was I going to say? Yeah, no, those are both good answers, I think. I'm trying to think of, because I feel like there's Alan Wake stuff I like here too, but I like the stuff in Alan Wake 2 where it's about like the idea of being written is really scary. I think that's really cool. Like losing your agency in that way and not being in control of yourself, right?
Yeah.
Is cool.
Yeah.
How would I unnerve the player by acknowledging their presence? I don't know. That's a good question. I also don't know what kind of horror game I would make, which I feel like is maybe the more foundational question here in terms of like getting to that other place, right? I think it's kind of hard for me because I think I do get like, again, we talked about this on the show, but I do wish the one was addressing a person who was not me as much as they were addressing me. I think that is interesting. I think that would be more interesting to me. And so I think I can get kind of like exhausted by like the I think this stuff worked for me better 10 years ago, I guess, basically. Right. So it's kind of hard for me to think about. Like, I think if thinking about like making a horror game, I think there were like a lot of other things I would be interested in doing before getting to like how do I freak the player out by acknowledging them? You know, but also sometimes I like that stuff. I love fucking Psycho Mantis being like, oh, you like Castlevania. Like that rules, you know? And even like I haven't played Eternal Darkness, but like it seems cool that like it deletes your save and pretends to delete your save. That stuff seems cool. You know, I like the video game itself as haunted object. That's interesting to me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I really don't have anything to add to that. So
yeah. Yeah, fair. I mean, yeah, I think it's a big question. I don't quite have a beat on it, but thank you, Jen.
I would make something that's like the Red Room in Twin Peaks. Surprise.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's cool.
It's cool. It's cool when you go to a place and it's and then you go back and then it's different. Yeah. Every horror game has stolen this.
Yeah, it's very cool.
There's a reason why.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a podcast. I'm so fucking hungry right now.
Oh damn, yeah, let's get you food. Well, yeah, thank you all for listening. We are hosted on the Abnormal Mapping Network. You can find us on Twitter at Podcast Safe Room. We have a Discord, and you can find the link to that at spookygame.club, as well as, you know, information about the podcast and etc. You can also give us money and sub to our Patreon at patreon.com/thesaferoom. We got some behind the paywall stuff. I'm going to do another episode of Closet Crit on, I think, just the introduction of erotism by this French guy whose name I forgot. It doesn't matter. Well, you know, I think that, yeah, we'll have a great time with my friend Soph. And then we'll do found footage. Did we talk about already what we're going to cover? I have completely forgotten.
We're going to do Pulse.
Oh, yes, that's right. Perfect.
2001
yeah,
Kiyoshi Kurosawa movie.
Great. So yeah, we'll cover that. And that stuff is behind the paywall and up there. And you can, you know, I think is it $3 or is it $1?
It's a $3 for everything.
$3. Yeah. You get the whole caboodle.
$1 per podcast.
Yeah. And you also get a handheld talk with Rose and Amr where they talk about being part of the Republic of Gamers.
That's right. Listen, that podcast exists as long as Amr keeps buying shit.
Yeah. It'll go on forever. But yeah, it's good stuff. I like all the shows we do. I like doing them, and I think people like listening to them, and so you should listen to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're doing Fatal Frame 3 next month.
Yes.
Or I guess this month, but
yeah. Well, yeah. Sorry about that, everyone. This is my bad.
We're back. We're back. Games are back, baby.
Games are. I'm so excited. I'm excited to play as a woman over 18 in a Fatal Frame game.
God. Yeah. Yeah. I was just gonna say walking around in a room with tank controls is back on the menu. Let's go.
Let's go.
I don't know if it actually has tank controls in it.
I don't know either, but
there's like this weird era where they kept doing fixed camera angles but didn't give you tank controls.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're back.
Yeah. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, have you got anything you want to plug, Rose, before we wrap up?
No. Yeah. You're listening to the thing I would plug.
Yeah. Let's see. What am I? I've got some really exciting stuff that is like on the horizon. So I guess follow me on Twitter at Grace_Machine or other stuff to find out about that. and maybe help fund some upcoming projects that I'm working on. I really cannot. I want to wait. I want to hold. Information will be out soon, but I've got some cool shit coming up that I'm real excited about. So stay tuned for that. Yeah. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll catch y'all later.
Bye.
We should've known better. The two of us could be so much better. You and I were meant to get along, but I want to cry when we get it wrong. You and I on the edge of it all. Hold me close, baby, when we start to fall. You and me forevermore, baby, that scares me. Can we just be you and me? Everything comes in pairs. Me and you and me got two of everything. Two hands, two eyes, got two of everything. Too much of everything. You and I, we're meant to get along, but I want to cry when we get it wrong. You and I, on the edge of it all. Hold me close, baby, when we start to fall. You and me forevermore, baby, that scares me. Can we just be you and me? Everything comes in pairs. Me and you and me got two of everything. Two hands, two eyes, got two of everything. Too much of everything. The two of us, we should've known better. The two of us could be so much better. The two of us, we should've known better. The two of us could be so much better. You and me, everything comes in pairs. Me and you and me got two of everything. Two hands, two eyes, got two of everything. Too much of everything. You and me forevermore, baby, that scares me. Can we just be